Hello, this is Patricia from patriciafenty.com, and today I'm going to show you how to crochet this rectangle shaped granny square blanket. And this is just one big granny square in a rectangle shape, and the first part is a little bit tricky, but once you get going it's super easy to make. And we're using a self-striping yarn. There are 2 balls of yarn in this blanket, and it's super easy to do. And you can use it as a baby blanket, a lap blanket, whatever you like. Now the yarn I'm using for this project is the Lion Brand Shawl in a Cake. The color is Jade Pool, although they have lots of lovely colors. And this is a blend, it's a cotton acrylic blend. And Lion Brand, they're calling this a number 4 medium weight yarn. I think it's much finer than that. To me, it's more like a 3, and they're calling for a 6mm crochet hook or a J10. And I think that's because they're marketing this as a yarn to make a shawl, and the stitches would be much looser and more lacy. And because I'm making this as a blanket and I want the stitches to be more snug, I'm using a 3mm crochet hook. And of course you need some scissors, and you can use any size yarn or any type of yarn you like. This pattern is super simple. Now, because this yarn is so fine, it's actually a little hard to see the beginning stitches. And so I'm going to demonstrate on a heavier weight yarn, something that's easier to see using a bigger crochet hook just to this point here. And then I'll carry on with this yarn once we're there to that point. So I'll just put that out of the way. So you're going to start with a slip knot. Yarn over your finger and then over your thumb and pull it through the back. Now, if you're new to crochet, I do have a beginner crochet series. I'll put a link to that below. It has some really good tips in there, so I suggest checking that out before you get started if you're new to crochet. So snug that up on your hook, leaving your tail to the right side, set up your tension, and you're going to chain 28. So you to chain, you just yarn over, bring your yarn through your loop, yarn over, bring the yarn through your loop, and that's a chain stitch. And I teach this in the beginner crochet series. So starting with a beginning chain of 28, so go ahead and do that, and I'll see you at the end. Great. Now that we have 28 chains, you're going to work a double crochet. So you yarn over, and you have your chain stitch. You have the V stitches on the top. There's 3 loops on a chain stitch. There's 2 on the top, and there's this back sort of bumpy post, and we're going to work into that back bumpy post. So yarn over, and you're going to go into the 4th stitch from your hook into that back bump. Put your hook through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through 2 loops. And now you're going to work another double crochet into that same stitch. So yarn over, bring your yarn through, yarn over, go through 2 loops, yarn over through 2 loops. So this first chain counts as a double crochet, and then you do 2 more double crochets. So chain 1, and then skip 2 stitches, 2 little bumps, and you're going to work 3 double crochets into that back of that 3rd stitch. So yarn over through 2 loops, yarn over through 2 loops, back into that same stitch, another double crochet, and another double crochet, just like that. And you're going to do that all the way along. So chain 1, skip 2 stitches, and work into that back bump with 3 double crochets. So go ahead and do that, and I'll see you at the end. All right, so coming to the end of your row, you should have 3 stitches left, if you've counted correctly. So I finished my last cluster here and did a chain 1, and then I'm going to work 3 double crochets into that very last stitch. And doing another cluster of 3 double crochets. Now we're going to be working around the end here, and oh, I've got a knot there. Oh well, this is just a sample piece. So now we're going to be working the corner. So in this case, you're going to chain 2, and then you're going to do another set of 3 double crochets into that same end stitch, working another cluster. And so this is going to be basically the top of the turn, sort of the end of that row. So now we're going to do another corner, so chain 2 and work another set of 3 double crochet into that same stitch. And so you're working around the corner in this way. And now we're going to work our way back across the straight end. So chain 1, and this is really easy. Now you're just going to do sets of 3 double crochets on the opposite stitch of each one that you've done already. And if you want, you can crochet your tail in. I'm going to do that. So I chained 1 and working into the other end of that stitch, do another set of 3 double crochets. And that's 3, and then chain 1 and go over to the next stitch and work another set of 3 double crochets. So you'll do that all the way along, and I'll see you at the other side. Now I've come back to the actual yarn that I'm working on. So I've come to the end of the row here, and I've done my 3 double crochets into each stitch. And at the very end here, we're going to work the corner again. So this time you chain 1 and do a set of 3 double crochet into that first stitch that you started with. And now we're working the corner piece, so chain 2 and then do another set of 3 double crochet into that same space. And 3. And this is a corner as well, so you're going to chain 2. And now you're going to join this round by doing a slip stitch into the top of the 3rd stitch of the beginning, chain 3. And I actually went into the 4th stitch. Oops. So you're going to slip stitch over to your chain 1 space. So here, normally you would do 2 slip stitches, and then your final 3rd slip stitch would be into the chain 1 space. But I cut this afterwards. I wasn't going to redo that. So anyways, so here we are. You're going to start your 2nd round and chain 3, and that counts as your first double crochet. And then work 2 double crochets into the chain 1 space. Then chain 1 and do another set of 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. And you're going to repeat that all the way along until you get to the corner, and I'll meet you there. All right, so here we are. We're come to the corner here. So I've just done my last set of 3 double crochets into the chain 1 space. So chain 1, and now I'm working into the corner, and you'll be working into every corner the same way. Every time you come to a corner, you'll work a corner like this, which is a set of 3 double crochets, chain 2, a set of 3 double crochets. So that's 3, and then chain 2 and another set of 3 double crochets into that same chain 2 space, and you work every corner the same way. we go. So now we're going to be going over to another corner. So we'll chain 1 in between the corners and work another corner into that chain 2 space. So I'll just speed this up, and there we go. And then when you come out of the corner, you'll just chain 1 and you'll work a set of 3 double crochets into each chain 1 space until you reach the next corner. And so you'll work around repeating your corners, and I'll see you at the end of this row. So here we are coming out of the last corner there. We'll do a chain 1, and then you're going to join into the 3rd chain of your beginning chain 3 with a slip stitch. And here is where in that previous row I must have gone into the 4th stitch. So here you'll slip stitch into the 2nd double crochet, and then slip stitch into the 3rd double crochet, and then slip stitch into your chain 1 space. So essentially you're just slip stitching over to your chain 1 space. So that's how you work your way over to that chain 1 space. So now you'll chain 3 to start the next row, and that's your first double crochet, and then you work 2 more double crochets into your chain 1 space, and then chain 1, and you'll just work those sets of 3 double crochets in all the chain 1 space and do each round. And as you come around, each time you join, your round is going to sort of work in an angle like that as you crochet your blanket. So there you go. So carry on, and of course when you come to the corners, you're going to work your corner into those chain 2 spaces, and here you would do a set of 3 double crochet and work your corner again. And so you'll carry on doing your sets of 3 double crochets in each chain 1 space. And so carry on, and I'll come back and show you how I'm making out. Welcome back. So I've just completed my 7th row, and so you can see what I mean, how the rows sort of go at an angle like that. So it's coming along very nicely. I just love how the self-striping yarn works out. This is where I am in my ball of yarn. So carry on. I'll come back in a little bit and show you how I'm making out. Hello, here we are. Just working my way around the blanket. It's coming along very nicely. And you can see how the new row keeps going in this direction. And I must say, in the camera, the color that's showing is more of a blue-green, but in real life, this is more of a bright green, like a more greeny green. So I'm really enjoying working with this yarn. You can see I'm about 2/3 of the way through this first ball. So I must say, I love doing granny square patterns like this because it's so relaxing, and after a while you get into a real rhythm and you don't even have to look at what you're doing, or at least I don't anyways. So I do find it very relaxing and enjoyable, just repeating the same pattern over and over again. So I hope you're enjoying yours, and I'll come back in a bit. All right, welcome back. Now I have just finished my first ball of yarn, and my blanket so far is 22 inches by 30 inches, and it's crocheting up very nicely. And so I'm going to be going into my second ball now, and the yarn pattern, the self-striping yarn, is working out really nice. So I started off with a little bit of the very light green, and then I went to sort of a medium green, and then dark, and then medium, and back to light, and then back to medium, and then dark, and back to medium. And in this new ball, I notice it's going to work out perfect because they're not all created equal. And so I'm going to be starting now with this, with a nice light green, working out in just one more row of the dark green, and then finishing with a light green, and I think that'll work out really nice. So I'm glad that this ball has more of the light green than the dark green. I think it's going to look really great. And you can join then your next ball using a magic knot. I'll leave a tutorial for that below. And I'll come back and show you a couple of options of how you can finish the outside edge of this blanket. So we'll see in a little while. All right, here we are coming to the end of the second ball of yarn. And I'm ready to do my edging. So I'm going to finish with a row of double crochet, and then the last row will be a row of single crochet, and that'll give it a really nice edge. So if you're following along with me and you're using the same yarn and the same hook, you want to do 29 rows, and then you'll have enough yarn left to do the row of double crochet and the last row with a row of single crochet. But if you're doing a different yarn and you need to figure this out, just crochet a 4-inch section with your double crochet, pull the yarn out, measure how much yarn you've used, and then multiply that by the circumference of your blanket. So in this case, I did a 4-inch piece, and the circumference of my blanket is 140 inches. So I divided that by 4, which gave me 35 repeats. And then I knew that I used 64 inches of yarn in that 4-inch repeat, so I multiplied that by 35, which gave me a total of 62 yards for the double crochet row, and for the single crochet row it came out to another 35 yards, so a total of 97 yards. Now, the other thing you can do is you can use up all the yarn on your ball and use another color. So you can pick a complementary color out of the blanket. So I have this Peyton's Beehive Baby Sport. This is called Vintage Lace, and this is a number 3 light, because even though the green yarn is called a number 4 yarn, it's quite light. So you can see here where I've worked the double crochet in another color. So that would look really nice too. You could pick any color out of the blanket that you like. That's an option as well. But I'll just show you here how you can carry on by doing a double crochet border. So you finish your last round as usual, and you've worked your way over to your chain 1 space as usual, and started with a chain 3 as usual. But this time you're going to do your double crochet into the top 2 posts of the next stitch. And then again a double crochet into the top 2 posts of the next stitch. And you'll do this into each stitch all the way around the blanket, working a double crochet under both posts of each stitch, working all the way around. And when you come to the chain 1 space here, I like to work into the stitch. Some people work into the chain 1 space, but that's totally up to you. I like to pick up the stitches for that. And the only exception for that is when you go into your corner, you'll work into the chain 2 space there. So just carry on and do that. And when you get to the corner here, you'll have the chain 2 space, and you can work 3 to 5 double crochets into the chain 2 space to get around the corner. It sort of depends on your tension. So I did 3 double crochets in this corner. So go ahead and work this round, and I'll see you at the end. Welcome back. So here we go. I finished the row of double crochet all the way around, and that looks very nice. And of course you could stop here if you like. But if you've been crocheting along with me, you do have enough yarn to do another row of single crochet, which just gives it another nice finish. So of course you can do this in an alternating color yarn as well. So I'll just finish up my last double crochet here. Oops. And then join the round by doing a slip stitch into the 3rd chain of your beginning chain 3, just as before. And then to begin the next round, you'll do a chain 1. Make this kind of a loose chain, And then you'll just do a single crochet under both posts of each stitch all the way around. So simply do a single crochet. This will give a really nice finish. So I'll show you then what to do in the corner. I'll meet you there. Okay, so here we are coming to the corner. I have 3 double crochets in the corner, and all you do is you'll do 2 single crochets in each stitch that is in your corner. So there's 2, and then 2 into the next stitch, and that'll bring you around the corner nicely. And then 2 into the next stitch, 2 single crochets, and then just carry on with your single crochet in the top of each stitch all the way around. And then you will be done. So I will see you on the other side. All right, so here we are just at the end of this row. So do the last single crochet, and then you'll join this round by doing a slip stitch into that first chain 1. And then you can do a chain 1 to fasten off and cut your yarn. And then you'll just darn in that tail and of course your beginning tail. And there you go. And you can see how nice that looks with those 2 rows to do the edging. And I had just enough left. I only had a few yards left, like maybe 4 yards. So that worked out really well. So that was great. Now you're going to want to blanc this. You can wash it in cold water, gentle cycle. And then you can just lay it flat to dry and just hand press it to shape it while it's drying and block it like that. If you have a proper blocking board where you put the pins in, you can do it that way as well. But I find it works nicely just to lay it flat to dry on a towel. So there you go. And there it is all finished. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel to get more inspiring and creative videos. Thank you for joining me.